Yo, JD here, and as you can see, we are on F1 23, and we are finally here with some league racing content. I am very, very sorry that it's been taking me quite a while to get this released. I've been having quite a few issues with my PC, which I've spoken about in many videos. I have hopefully fixed that now, and I will be back with the league racing content. If you want to watch us live, I do it every single Wednesday at 7 PM UK time, and the season has been very enjoyable and very intense so far. This was round one at Bahrain, which I did over a month ago now, and just trying to think back to how I was thinking entering this race, I was pretty surprised at my pace in terms, especially the race pace as well, of how competitive I felt. And this league is Flashpoint Racing League against some of the best and most competitive drivers on the PlayStation platform. So it's a PlayStation only league, just to minimize the lag as much as possible. And yeah, coming into this race at Bahrain, felt quite confident in qualifying. My best time was a 27.6 as a PB, but yeah, usually qualifying I seem to get a little bit more tense, and yeah, need to find that extra percent to get the full lap down. I felt like the theoretical would have been enough for pole, so if I could just start high up the grid, I felt quite confident that my race pace would be very good, because you've probably heard me mention a few times now on F1 23 that I like to go for a little bit of a lower downforce setup. For me personally, I think that works very well in the race, because ERS is just so essential. And if you watch my latest race at Saudi Arabia, which I will be doing a highlights video on soon, you will see how essential that is. And for me, my biggest strengths I feel is consistency, momentum, and kind of just race management, knowing when to use the ERS, knowing when to be patient and when to be aggressive. And I think in this game, that is a big plus. So you don't always need to be the fastest driver to have the most success. That's something I firmly stand strong on. And so far, this lap hasn't really been that great. And did a pretty good banker, a 28.2 banker, then a 0.1. So that wasn't really too bad. The track does evolve quite a bit throughout the session, but I was really looking to get into the 27.8s at least. That's something I would have been fairly satisfied with. And yeah, so far this lap isn't really setting the world alight, but I knew if I could start in a fairly decent position, then in the race I'm going to give myself a very good opportunity. But as we come out of the last corner, something quite interesting happened. This is where my stream actually froze. As Zay does a 27.6, my stream crashed right here, and behind the scenes, I was frantically trying to get my stream back online. You can see my webcam is even reset as well. And the race, we've got 3 seconds to go. I'm jumping back in my seat, barely got my gloves on. It takes a while for me to get the gloves on. Couldn't change the fuel or anything at all. And we actually qualified 7th there. Couldn't even change the tyres, but I think I was pretty confident I was going to start on the mediums anyway. And you can see we just about make it for the start of this race. And we actually get a fairly good start despite not really being set up. So we're on the medium tyre, and I'll probably make a bit of a dedicated video on this. And this is something I've said to a lot of people in my coaching sessions at www.coachlimitless.com. I think in a 50% race, probably the medium tyre is the tyre you really want to be starting on, because there kind of isn't really too much of a difference between the medium and the hards. The durability is quite similar, the temperature is quite similar in the tyres, and just having that undercut is very powerful. And even if you go from hard to medium, you're just going to be losing so much time on the undercut, and then after a few laps it kind of really balances out in pace. So in my opinion, I think last game going from hard to medium was pretty much a must. You really did have to do it. But in this game, I don't think I really will be starting on the hard tyre that much at all, unless I was confident of getting pole and something like that. But yeah, most of the time I'm going to be starting the mediums. And you can see making up one position here, so managing to get a Cucumber, a very fast driver. And then we've got Kagwaski ahead of us, who is actually on the controller along with CPI, a Volcano. So probably a couple of the two fastest controller players on the PlayStation platform go pretty deep in here, but you're about to see a demonstration of the straight line speed that I have in this setup. It is absolutely rapid, and Gagowski isn't really going to fight this too hard. He is on the hard tyre, so didn't expect him to fight it too much. And now we're up into P5 and really want to try and make up as much ground as I possibly can. Make sure the lead train does not get away as well. But as you skip towards the end of that free, you can see there's a bit of a gap between Volcano and the top three who are on medium tyres. So we're going to dispatch of him pretty comfortably, trying to get back on the racing line, but it looks like he is fighting us a little bit, so we couldn't get quite back there. And see the gap is 2.2 seconds, and we have 60% of the ERS. So from this point onwards, I was actually just spamming the ERS to try and close in, but Zelly, who is leading this race, was absolutely rapid around here. Very, very fast. So like I said, you don't really want to be wasting all of your ERS as much as possible. So I tried to close in, but since the two ahead of me have got the DRS from Zelly, who was just absolutely rapid, nothing really I could do. So Cucumber is right in the back of me. You can see we're back down to 17% of the ERS. So we did make a bit of inroads, but if I kept going like this, then I was just going to waste all my battery, and it's quite difficult to recover it as well. So that's why I went for a bit of the lower downforce. So we're actually going to let Cucumber go past here, and in my mind, I'm just going to sit behind him. But as he goes past, you can see his red light is actually flashing, which means he is under 10% of the battery. But on this game, even if you're under 10% of the battery, if you keep on using the overtake button, it is still quite powerful in a straight line. You just run the risk of running out of the battery completely. So you really have to keep on spamming the overtake button, which means you can't really save any ERS. But if you don't use the overtake button and you're under 10% ERS, then you will be at a big deficit in a straight line. So you can see we've actually regained quite a bit of ERS now. And you can see his red light was just flashing, so you'll be able to see that again on the exit of this corner. We are on almost 50% of the battery, and you're about to see in a second that Cucumber sees red light is flashing there. I knew that I had at least 40% more battery than him, which is quite a substantial amount, and that's because I'm running the slow downforce. There's a lot less drag in the car, and I believe this is something that works really well in races and has done so for me so far. If you'd like to get access to these updated setups as well, because I do believe there is quite a difference between the time trial, a qualifying and a race setup, then make sure you click that join button, become a YouTube member, and I have uploaded all my league racing setups there and will continue to do so. So right now, you can see Cucumber's actually managed to catch this top three, which has really suited me nicely, which means I can keep on just saving this ERS. So on this game, you really have to be quite patient and decide when you want to go for these overtakes. You can see Spanius has pitted, so he's going for a bit of an undercut here, and we're just going to continue to save this ERS. So you don't need to be winning until the last lap, and right now I'm just trying to save the battery as much as I can. You can see I think all these guys ahead of me are under 10% of the battery, so I knew I was in a pretty superior position as Montana now pits, and that's just Zelly, Cucumber and myself out. And you can see again using a bit of ERS here, but you can see both of these guys ahead of me, their red light is flashing, so I knew that I'm in a very good position when it comes to the battery. But on this lap, I think Zelly was actually going to be pushing, and like I said, even if you're under 10% of the battery, if you keep on using the overtake button, you can see again his red light is flashing there, so just confirming, if you keep using that overtake button, it's still quite good in a straight line. But yeah, I want to save as much battery as I can, but we can see this lap in order to try and limit the undercut as much as possible. We've used quite a bit of that battery, not getting a good entry into this pit lane, and yeah, about a tenth of a second out from getting the right point. 2.6 second pit stop, which is not ideal. You want to be pressing it around 0.5, so half a second. That's going to give you the absolute optimal, which will give you 2.2. So I've lost almost half a second just by doing that in this pits. And coming out here, you can see Spanius has got an absolutely huge undercut. Same with Cucumber as well. And I know many people in the live chat were saying, well, race is over. But the thing is, the undercut is very powerful, but so is having fresher tyres. And if you can drive at the same pace or you're confident in your race pace, you should be able to make that time up again. But you can see Zelly has pitted the next lap, so he's got a lap fresher tyres than me, and he's setting the fast lap of the race. We're actually just going to let him go, and you can see his red light is flashing, so he's still under this 10% of the ERS. But again, if you keep using that overtake button, you will still have good straight line speed. And what we're going to do now is literally just try and use him to catch up to the rest of the pack whilst saving the battery. And you can see already back up to almost 35% of the ERS. We've actually caught this top train, and you can see the lead that Spanius had and Cucumber, you can see that has come down quite a bit now. So the fresher tyres really do prevail. Just really have to trust the process. And I believe, yeah, not overcutting too much, because you could leave yourself a bit too much to do, but just having a little bit fresher tyres and minimising that undercut that the others will have is really going to play into hands. You can see we're just not even interested using the battery here, so I'm really just trying to think about the end of the race as much as possible. The only thing I was conscious of here was just making sure I follow Zelly through this pack. I don't want him to have more than one car between himself and I, so I really got to make sure I stay on terms with him, because if he creates a bit of a gap between us, then I've really got to get on it. And I felt like he was probably the fastest driver around here today, although my race pace was good. I felt like I was maybe the second fastest, but yeah, his pole lap and just his pace around here, I felt like he was definitely the man to beat, and he has the fresher tyres. But you can see we're almost on 40% of the battery, so now up behind Montana, who is on these older tyres and is probably going to be having a lot less ERS than us. So in a straight line we were very, very fast. So on the exit here, although he's got the DRS, I don't think he's going to be using the battery, because he wants to try and conserve it. And you can see just using that extra battery, we have got that move done. And now we've got to try and stay with Zelly as much as possible. So really conscious of not letting him get out of my DRS as we come through into here. So we've got Spanius up ahead, and you can see Cucumber's got quite a big lead, but he did pit a little bit earlier than us as well. So Zelly hasn't got this move done, so this suits me really nice. You can see both of these guys, those red lights are flashing, and you're going to use a little bit of the ERS, but then not too much, so making sure we don't dip under that 10%. Also don't want people to know that I'm under 10% of the ERS. I think that's also something that's quite important. You can see that move was very, very easy, and look how much faster we were in a straight line than the AlphaTauri up ahead of us as well. And you can see Cucumber in the lead, 2.2 seconds, and now we're just going to slot in behind. But you can see within the matter of a couple of laps, we have caught up to Cucumber and been saving the ERS still as well. And again, just trying to stick with Zelly as much as we possibly can. So coming through into here, I think they're playing a little bit of chicken with this DRS sign, and I was really hoping Cucumber would try and fight him a little bit here. Doesn't look like he's going to get a DRS in the exit, so we have to use a bit of the battery here. And you can see just how straight line speed, much, much faster. But we get on these marbles, which gives you absolutely no grip. So really crucial that we get this move done, because we can't afford to be out of the DRS zone of Zelly up ahead. And now we've just managed to stay in. So the key now is just to stay with him as much as possible. You can see his red light still is flashing. So we are in a better position battery-wise. But the tyres, we are a lap older tyres, so it shouldn't really make too much of a difference, but really want to make sure we stay in here. So let's see how we do, how comfortable it is. You can see the gap is 0.8 of a second. I think he's still just pushing with this battery all the time, and he was definitely running a little bit more of a high downforce setup than us. So just making sure we stay with him going on to this main straight and see how much time we actually gain in a straight line, because that's something I was really wanting to take note of as we get into the final laps of this race. But starting from P7, after the stream crashing and just jumping into the seat, I was pretty happy with this progress. And so far, I think we've just done a pretty intelligent race, not necessarily the fastest, but just saving the battery well. You can see how much that really does reward you. And if you look on the straight line, we are very, very fast in a straight line, gaining almost half a second there. So yeah, I knew if we could be in a good position in these last couple of laps, then it was still actually game on for this win. So moving towards the end of lap 27 now, this is where you got to really start thinking about. So he's trying to break the slipstream a little bit. He's still got the red light flashing, and let's see what we can do here. So getting a bit of a scruffy exit. Traction is lacking, but I have Cucumber behind me who wants to be attacking me as well. So we're not using any of the battery here. We're going to keep it conserved for the last lap. You can see how much faster we were in a straight line. So just trying to put him a little bit under the pressure. So really crucial now to try and stay as close as we possibly can to him without using any of this ERS. So want to be going into that last corner as close as we possibly can and saving the ERS. So if we can stay above 10% of the ERS, even if we get out ahead of him, then I think with the straight line speed we have, we should be able to actually stay ahead. But it's going through this section where the high downforce does prevail, going a little bit deep into here, so a little bit scruffy going into this corner. You can see that's cost me quite a bit of time, having to use a bit of the battery just to try and stay close as we can. At this point, Cucumber is actually closer to me than I was to Zelly. Coming off the exit of this corner, use a little boost of that ERS again, but then turning off quite quickly. So we are actually fairly close, so this is actually quite good. Really try and navigate this really well. Are we going to use a bit of the ERS SWR for a little bit of a boost? So right now, we are definitely close enough going into this last lap. This is actually a pretty good position to be. Definitely closer than we were on the previous lap. Using a bit of ERS, but again, trying to keep it above that 10%, because that will really give you quite a significant boost. So going through to this last corner, did that really well. Pretty much couldn't have done that any better. So now we're going to use it. And looking back in hindsight, I think we probably should have waited here. So we've decided to use all of the ERS, get back on the racing line. And in my mind, I was just hoping that my straight line speed with the downforce would be enough to stay ahead. So really trying to get a good exit, but we actually went a bit on the marbles. And we do get a pretty decent exit, but looking back at this now, we go defensive, but a bit too defensive and braking pretty early. We should have broke quite deep, but at this point we are going side by side, going toward the end of sector 1, going through to here. What happens? He goes around the outside, he keeps the position, and I was quite conscious that we were going to make contact. And on the previous game, I've had many moments through there where you've had a bit of contact and then your race is completely over. This time, was a little bit cautious. I think we could have been a bit more aggressive under the braking, so gone a bit deep, so kind of forcing him to go out wide, which would have created a loss of traction for him. Plus, I think we went a bit too defensive, so should have stayed a bit more towards the middle of the track, more towards the racing line. Would have made it a lot more difficult for him to carry the speed around the outside. But right here now, unless he makes a huge mistake, I don't think there's much we can do. But you're about to see a straight line speed difference, so using his ERS, I don't think he has any battery left at this point. You can see how quickly we're closing in, almost battery, but thinking about the inside. But no, it's better to be a bit smarter than reckless. And coming across the line, we're going to come home in P2. Bahrain, a track that's typically a pretty difficult one for me. I was very, very happy about and very, very happy with the pace. So that is round 1 of FRL. I will be releasing the other rounds in the next week or so. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this. Make sure you check out my live streams on Wednesday as well. Thank you so much for the support, and I'll be catching you very, very soon. Peace.